If you guys are familiar with me, you know I don't talk about the fuck shit. I don't comment about anything that doesn't have anything to do with the music. The farthest that I will go towards anything that resembles that is beef, if it's on records. If it's outside of that, I never even comment on it. But I have to say, with this recent altercation that happened between Little B and A Boogie, there's one thing that you have to know about the modern fan. The modern fan doesn't care about originality. They don't care about artistic integrity. They're not interested in it. Or rather, the younger fan. We've seen with the biggest record this year, we've seen with Cardi B's record and how she's been chastised. Like, you stole this directly from Kodak Black. You stole this entire flow, and the song even sounds like it's titled Kodak Black. And her response is, so what? Who cares? Maybe I did. And she continues to win, and she gets signed to Sony, and you see where that's going. Fans don't care about originality, but what they do care about is how much of an upstanding citizen you are, funny enough. And I think it's pretty ironic that today's rap, people are actually being criticized for being bad people. If you say something that's homophobic via Twitter, if you make a rape joke on a song, which I think happened to Rick Ross just a couple of years ago when he said something that was very rapey. Also, 21 Savage in the Slut Walk with Amber Rose. Of course, people have been lampooning him for participating in that. But overall, the general sense that you get is people, they feel happy for him. Well, that's good. He's in love. He's being a good boyfriend. He's being a upstanding citizen. We're totally in a different space, and we've been in a different space for quite some time now. What the modern fan cares about is that. So if you're A Boogie and you've been compared to Dej Loaf by so many people in the past, and I think as a matter of fact, the first time that I heard A Boogie, I thought, whoa, this is a new Dej Loaf record. Everyone says it. And now Little B goes on Twitter and sort of takes a subtle jab and also mentions something else on Twitter that I'll get to in a second. He makes a subtle jab at A Boogie, and then A Boogie sees him, and apparently he gets jumped by however so many people. So now A Boogie is going to suffer through this. And I think normally when bad things happen to people as far as PR, it sort of trails off. But I think what's making this worse, or what's going to make it worse, is that Little B's pretty much following his game plan that he always follows. You guys will remember a couple years ago when there was a would-be interviewer that just totally ambushed Little B and punched him like 5-6 different times and walked out. Later on apologizing, and Little B put out a video a day later with a busted lip, you know, sort of talking that shit, but not really threatening the guy, and pretty much having an overall message of, I bring positivity, I'm not all about this bullshit. And now that he's been jumped by A Boogie and his people, the message is the same, though it's a lot more passive. It's him saying, if they'd like to chop it up with me, that's something that I would do. I forgive them, and I have no issue whatsoever. And that's making it worse for A Boogie, because now fans who don't know who you are, and they definitely know who Little B is, he had a cult following years ago, so that's still just, you know, living within the space of the internet. Now when you have new fans listening to you, people don't want to fuck with you anymore, because now you look like an asshole. Now you are the unoriginal guy who also jumps people because they critique you. So that makes you look even worse. One thing that I'll say that Little B did, and why he can't be surprised that this happened, is you can't take stabs at people, you know, as a city. You can't say things on Twitter like, I make these New York artists look bad, like I'm more from New York, or whatever it was that he said. And then he made the Dej Loaf statement. So he takes the low-key jab at him, but then he says the New York comment. We've learned for years now with artists like Mano. We've learned that New York artists do not take that. It just doesn't happen. For those of you who don't know, I've mentioned this many times. I'm from New York City. And let me personally tell you that over the past 10, 15 years, where New York has basically taken a step down as far as the most influential city, one thing that they have is pride. New York artists have a lot of pride. And when you test that, when you sort of single us out in front of the world, we sort of look back and say, you know, I wasn't going to do anything to you, but now you did it in front of everybody else, so now it's not going to look right if I don't attack you. That's one thing that Little B did that he can't be surprised that this is coming at him. And if he wants to approach this from sort of a pseudo spiritual and free love perspective, then he has to understand that one of the main principles of that is you called for it. Whatever you seek is seeking you. I didn't see any tweets by A Boogie mentioning anything about Little B. You looked for it and it came back to you. And maybe that's part of the reason why he's taking such a sacred cow approach, you know, why he's taking such a free love approach, like, you know, I still love them and it's okay, I'm just not with the violence. I think back to an interview that The Game did a couple of years ago with Vlad TV, and they were discussing Little B and, you know, some back and forth that Game and Little B had where Game called Little B whack, and then Little B has some words for him. And then Little B just gave him a series of tweets where he was promoting Game's new project. And Game and Vlad were discussing Little B, and they had said something that I'm thinking about now, which is it's very difficult to be mad at somebody when they're coming at you with that energy. When they're killing you with kindness, obviously, it's very difficult, even as rappers, even as tough guys, to continue to bully him and to continue to sully his name. It's a tactic that Little B's employed for years, and he continues to do it to this day. And apparently it won because A Boogie just about 45 minutes ago sort of apologized in not so many words. He kind of said, well, you know, I have to respect somebody who can just so easily forgive someone. So that's it. It's over. But the contemporary young listener does not care about originality. Let that be a lesson to you, unless you are an asshole. If you are an asshole, it's as if we all know the elephant, in the room. Everybody acknowledges it. So we listen to your music and we consume your music. But when you do something dickheaded, it's like, oh, you want to do something dickheaded and now you're an original on top of that? We can't have you. A Boogie is going to take a hit for that because it's not exactly like he's popped as an artist. I mean, the biggest record that he's had so far, I think, is My Shit. And other than that, I don't believe there's been really a hit record. Another thing to note too, A Boogie is from Highbridge. Now, Highbridge, I can personally tell you, I'm not from Highbridge, but knowing some people in my past in Highbridge and working with some people from Highbridge, there's a common thing that they all share. There's certain parts of New York City where I feel personally that people partake in certain activity that's really unnecessary. I mean, they're the type of kids that get on trains and selling candy, and they say things like, at the end of the day, I'm not robbing nobody, I'm not shooting nobody, I'm doing something positive, I'm selling candy. Like, dude, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You can just go to school. It's okay. You don't live in the Gaza Strip. It's okay. You don't have to shoot people. Don't have such low expectations. So A Boogie is from one of those areas that I feel, which is Highbridge, where people they travel around in a mob, and even A Boogie even has a recent Complex sneaker tour, where they buy sneakers or whatever goofy shit they do, where he's being asked about the areas in New York City where he buys sneakers, and he mentions a very popular area in the Bronx that's Fordham. And A Boogie says, yeah, I go buy these sneakers at Fordham, and, we'll go like 10, 20 deep because you never know what happens. Can I personally tell you that Fordham is a very commercial area? It's an area with a strip that has tons of stores. It's very commercial. There's a lot of money in that area. Violence doesn't really go down in Fordham, unless, of course, we're talking 2 or 3 in the morning. But in broad daylight, it's no more violent than any other strip in this city or in this fucking country. The only difference is you have a lot of people that, people stereotype and think that they do violent things, but really it's sort of a safe area in the city. So he's a part of that area. So it's not really a surprise that there would be sort of a mob mentality, and just because of one opinion, people would come down on Little B. And, and then basically this is the common story in all rap. It's one person feeds 20 to 50 people. And if you say something against that one person, that's basically their cash cow, well, then, you know, then you can't really be too surprised when things like this happen, all out of one silly opinion. But what do you guys think about this? What I really want to know, because at the end of the day, this is just fuck shit. It's stupid. It's retarded for 10 people to try to hurt one individual. It doesn't matter if it's Little B. It doesn't matter if it's you listening to the video right now. For some apparent reason, 10 people are trying to beat you down. It's always something goofy. But what I really want to know is, do you agree with me on the case that fans don't care about originality all the way up until they find out that you're a shithead, and then it matters? Then artistic integrity matters, and then we basically oust you out. And do you think that this is going to have some lasting effect against A Boogie in any way, shape, or form? Please let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next time.